People say all the time, you need an ID to buy a beer. Well, beer is not guaranteed by the Constitution.
Democratic Secretary of State Cisco Aguilar sitting down with our 8 News Now investigators as leaders in Washington, D.C. attempt to change the requirements to vote across our country. It is called the SAVE Act, and if passed, would have widespread implications here in Nevada. But as our 8 News Now investigators have found, some of the protections the laws call for are already happening here. 8 News Now investigator David Charnes asking the state's top election official about security and if these added guardrails are needed.
But I think people don't understand either that voting is a fundamental right guaranteed by the Constitution.
Democratic Secretary of State Cisco Aguilar calls it a fundamental right, a right that some lawmakers, citing unclaimed allegations of voter fraud, say they want to make more secure. The SAVE Act would require Americans, among other things, show proof of citizenship in person to register to vote in federal elections.
And I think it's an unintended consequence, but it's a result of people trying to make policy not truly understanding the safeguards and security that are in place in our elections.
That process involves not offering non-citizens the option to even register to vote. In Nevada, most people do that right here at the DMV, where new residents must already show a current license or social security card and a passport or birth certificate to prove who they are. Before the 2024 election, President Trump and state and national Republicans filed a lawsuit claiming thousands of non-citizens were registered to vote. The 8 News Now investigators comparing more than 6,000 names in that lawsuit to voter rolls, finding not one was registered to vote at the time or even in the years after the DMV issued them any driving privilege.
So the process is very clear in making sure that our elections are safe and that only Americans are registering to vote.
The SAVE Act also calls for nationwide voter ID and an end to mail-in voting without a valid excuse. More than a third of Nevadans voted by mail in the 2024 election, with Democrats, Republicans, and nonpartisans each making up about a third of the pie. The push for the change comes as the president continues to claim widespread fraud in the 2020 election he lost, even though all opinion polling in the weeks before that election showed a loss was likely.
Why do you think there is so much interest in the 2020 election?
What it is an effort to create doubt into the process so that a certain individual can seize control of our elections, even though the Constitution is very clear that states have the responsibility to run their elections.
While not seizing Nevada's elections, the department suing the state for its voter rolls, which Aguilar says contain personal information that should stay in the state's hands.
When a person registered to vote in Nevada, they granted the state that information. They did not grant a third party the ability to have that information.
Now, the SAVE Act passed the House. It's unlikely to pass the Senate, where it needs 60 votes. At least one Republican senator already opposed it, as do Nevada's 2 Democrats. Senator Catherine Cortez Masto telling us in part, the SAVE Act simply makes it harder for eligible Nevada citizens to vote in a manner that is safe and secure. And Senator Jackie Rosen adding, I will not support policies like this bill that limit the ability of eligible Americans to vote. Now, in 2024, Nevadans overwhelmingly voted in favor of voter ID. That question will be back on the ballot this November, and if it passes, will get added to the state constitution before 2028.